Hey everyone, my name is Buji, and today I'll be providing my review for Keylocker, turn-based cyberpunk action. This review will have some minor spoilers, so if you want to know my final thoughts, just skip to this part in the video. The game is published by Serenity Forge and developed by Nana Moon, also known as Moonana, a Brazilian indie developer and artist who also made Virgo vs. the Zodiac, which I've yet to play, and some smaller games called Osteoblast, a dungeon crawler about skeletons, and as I record this, Necromorphosis, a bullet hell game that releases on November 26, 2024, and looks like a Survivor.io type of game. The game's music is done by Electro Bear, who also did music for the aforementioned Virgo vs. the Zodiac and Osteoblast, as well as the music for Momodora 2 and 3, with some vocal performances by Samanthas, who leads her talents to other games such as Guild Wars 2, Janther Wilds, Straight Lights, and The Pathless, as well as movie trailers for Smile 2, Gladiator 2, Star Wars The Acolyte, and others. The story takes place on Saturn in the year Anno 801. In this world, music has been banned for about 140 years. And our main character, Bobo, is a singer and songwriter, so she's not happy with this. Bobo is an artificial being called a doppelganger, which are twins born as perfect human beings, fit to obey the purpose of the caste they are assigned to. Her purpose is to serve in the lowest caste for the prosperity of Saturn. The game starts off introducing Bobo in a prison cell, due to her being a musician, as music has the potential to generate electricity, which is banned. Once you break out of prison, you end up in a scrapyard where you find your next companion, Rocket, who is a jukebot, a robot that's programmed to play music. You later meet up with your twin brother, Dealer, who joins Bobo in her quest to overturn the government, as their freedom is being suppressed, and that the government has full control of the electricity on the planet. Through various encounters, you learn more about the world and those who control it. What drew me to the game is the art style. I'm a sucker for pixel art, and the colors immediately pop out. As the title suggests, Keylocker is a turn-based RPG. However, the combat utilizes a quick-time system for every attack. Most of the time, you had to click the action button before you attack or get hit. Sometimes you need to stop an action gauge at the correct time. Some you had to enter directional buttons, either one at a time like this, or on beat like this. Which also changes speed depending on the music in the background, I believe. These are both for getting a strong hit on the enemy as well as blocking enemy hits. There are also some of these rhythm aspects outside of combat, having you complete Guitar Hero-like minigames each chapter, with a little bit of bullet hell added in. Combat is also on a small grid, so some attacks can only be used directly in front of you, in an area around you, single target, hit everything, or can only hit things far away. Your loadout will have 4 directions for combat. You have your life attacks that deal damage directly to the enemy life. This is the gear that you have on the left of your loadout. Electric attacks on the top, which deal damage to electric points, or EP, and you steal some of this EP from the enemies to add to your own. This gives you some shield, and you can consume EP to charge up attacks or counters, which next on the right will be counters. You will counter an attack with a perfect or an OK block, but deal more damage with a perfect block. And finally, you have an EP recovery at the bottom, with the amount you recover depending on how well you do on the QuickTime events. This recovery also gives you, and your teammates that are in the area, retaliation damage when you get hit. Most of the combat in the game can be avoided. It's not a random encounter system like most RPGs are. The enemies will either be scouting a small area or hidden in the ground. There is also a danger meter that will increase when you heal at healing stations and when you pick up or sell items from the ground. This increases the strength of enemies you fight, as well as how quickly they move on the overworld. So while you can avoid combat, it is unwise to do so, as you need to level up your skill tree and get money. This brings me to my next topic: classes, equipment, and the skill tree. Keylocker has 3 playable characters: Bobo, Dealer, and Rocket. Each character can pick a starting class. There are 2 offensive, Juggernaut, and Hacker, and 2 defensive classes, the Samurai, and the Sequencer, all with their own diverse skill trees, and later you can select one of the other classes to multi-class into. Dealer will start off as a hacker for story purposes, but you can still give him a secondary class. I started off picking the Sequencer, as I love music and it's a big part of the story. And while there's no best class, each class can only equip certain types of gear, such as the Samurai can use katanas, naginatas, and bows. Sequencers can use musical instruments, such as guitars, harps, and trumpets, and so on. Upgrading the skill tree will increase some stats such as life, EP, crit, speed, etc., but also lower some other ones. The skill tree also provides some benefits, such as the samurai starting combat in a counter stance, or getting skills to add to your attacks, such as healing, stats up, debuffs to enemies, and more. The game also has multiple difficulties, which primarily affect your QuickTime event results. The easiest has perfect blocking do 0 damage to yourself, with OK and misses dealing less damage, and attacking does more. Or higher difficulties will have some damage penetrate your perfect blocks, increased damage taken, and decreased damage dealt. And finally, the game does have multiple endings, however I don't know exactly what dictates each one. It could be the quests in the game that you can complete, classes that you choose, and or the few choices that you can make at certain dialogues in the game. After beating the game, you do have the option to start a New Game Plus, which keeps all your skill keys and equipment. I did come across a few bugs, such as this boss fight that gave me the option to use attacks I wasn't supposed to have and crashed when I selected them. Oh, what happened there? Alright, Keylocker just crashed, but that was about it, and the gameplay was pretty smooth. So what are my thoughts on the game? Absolutely love Keylocker. The art, music, story, and gameplay all captivated me. The combat is a relatively simple idea, but it can be difficult to get the timing of different QuickTime events for enemies and on the gear that you can equip. The characters and dialogue are all really fun, and most everything in the world has different dialogues. Some of my favorite interactions actually came from some things that had nothing to do with the story, like some of the snowmen on the overworld. The only downsides I have are the autosave feature doesn't happen too often. However, this is only an issue during that boss fight that I crashed on. The stats and terminology may not make the most sense immediately, and some enemies are harder to tell exactly when to hit the reaction button on your first time encountering them, as the indicator blends in with the enemy. But aside from those, I would absolutely recommend this game to anyone. It's only $20 on Steam, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch. Currently it only supports English and Japanese, but it's worth the buy. So go and support indie developers. They made more games that I enjoy compared to AAA studios as of late. So this is my review of Keylocker. What does everyone think? Will you get it? Have you played it already? If so, have you gotten all the endings? Let me know in the comments. Thank you everyone for watching. This is my first review and I'd like to do more. Once again, my name is Buji, and everyone take care.